Welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be stepping into the kind of intricate world of Alzheimer's research and memory.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, and we've got some intriguing source material to unpack, excerpts from a Science magazine article called 14 Blots on a Field,
Right.
which, and this is interesting, it hints at some potential controversy,
Mhm.
and then a presentation titled Memory and Cognition
Okay.
to give us a wider perspective.
Sounds good.
So our mission is to kind of uncover the complexities of scientific research,
Mm,
especially when it comes to understanding memory and tackling diseases like Alzheimer's.
right.
Oh, and did I mention there's a captivating scientific mystery woven into all of this?
I mean, that's what we're here for.
Okay, so let's get started.
Okay.
It's a story that really makes you think about the foundations of scientific research. We're going to explore how a potential case of misconduct could have far-reaching implications, all while delving into the fascinating world of memory and the challenges of fighting Alzheimer's.
Yeah, I think that's a really important aspect of all this.
So let's start with this science article and the mystery it unveils.
Okay.
It all begins with Matthew Schrag,
Okay.
a neuroscientist who could be considered a modern-day scientific detective.
I like it.
He uncovered something potentially groundbreaking and troubling possible image manipulation in Alzheimer's research.
Wow.
This isn't just an academic debate. It has the potential to impact the direction of an entire field.
Yeah, that's that's a big deal.
What makes this case even more intriguing is Schrag himself.
Yeah.
He's not just a researcher in a lab. He had early experiences with dementia patients.
Hmm.
And that personal connection fueled his passion for uncovering the truth.
Oh, wow.
Combined with his meticulous scientific training, he was uniquely positioned to spot these inconsistencies.
So we had the motivation and the training.
Exactly. And these
Yeah.
inconsistencies were found in the work of Sylvain Lesnay,
Oh, man.
specifically a 2006 Nature paper that focused on a protein called FUV6 and its potential link to Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
This paper was considered a major breakthrough at the time.
I see.
This research was considered a significant piece of evidence supporting what's called the amyloid hypothesis,
Right.
the idea that the buildup of amyloid plaques in the brain is a primary cause of Alzheimer's.
Yeah, amyloid plaques are something that I think a lot of people know about when they think about Alzheimer's.
Yeah, it's one of those terms that's kind of out there.
Yeah.
The problem is, Schrag found evidence suggesting potential manipulation of images in this research,
Oh, wow.
along with questionable experimental methods and a lack of replication by other scientists.
So multiple red flags.
Now, that lack of replication is key, isn't it? I mean, in science, reproducibility is crucial for validating findings.
Yeah, I mean, if no one else can replicate your results,
Right.
it raises serious questions about the research.
Exactly. It's one of the cornerstones of the scientific method.
Right.
And in this case, very few other research groups have been able to replicate the findings related to FF56,
Mm.
even Dennis Selkoe. A leading proponent of the amyloid hypothesis couldn't find this protein in human fluids or tissues.
Oh.
In fact, when Selkoe reviewed Schrag's findings, he found them credible and even pointed out a particular concerning image in that 2006 Nature paper.
Oh, wow.
So we have this potentially groundbreaking research that might be flawed.
Right.
What happened when Schrag brought all of this to light?
Well, it caused quite a stir, I imagine.
Well, it caused a major uproar in the scientific community.
Yeah.
There were retracted papers, expressions of concern from journals, and investigations launched by the NIH and universities.
Wow.
But it wasn't a clear-cut case of misconduct.
Okay.
Karen Ash,
Mm.
the senior scientist on the 2006 paper, defended the work.
Okay.
And other researchers weighed in with different perspectives, creating a complex debate within the field.
So it's murky water.
This all makes you wonder, how does something like this even happen? I mean, scientific research is supposed to be this beacon of truth and integrity.
Yeah, it makes you question things for sure.
It's important to remember that science is a human endeavor, and humans are fallible.
Hmm.
We make mistakes, we have biases, and sometimes, unfortunately, there are cases of intentional misconduct,
Right.
but the scientific process is designed to be self-correcting.
Yeah.
Peer review, replication, and open debate are all mechanisms that help to weed out flawed research and ensure that our understanding of the world is based on solid evidence.
I mean, that's kind of the beauty of science, right?
Yeah.
It's that it's constantly being challenged.
But that process takes time, right?
Yeah.
And in the meantime, research funding might be misdirected, and patients might be given false hope.
Right.
It really underscores the importance of rigorous scrutiny and ethical conduct, especially in a field as critical as Alzheimer's research.
Yeah, absolutely. The stakes are incredibly high when we're dealing with diseases that cause so much suffering.
Right.
We owe it to the patients and their families to ensure that the research we're doing is based on solid ground.
It's a sobering reminder that even in the world of science, things aren't always black and white.
Yeah.
But before we get too bogged down in the potential pitfalls, let's shift gears and bring in our second source, the presentation on memory and cognition.
Okay, that was good.
It starts with this intriguing quote from St. Thomas Aquinas, who said, "The soul is in the whole body and in each part."
Oh, like that.
I love how they start with that quote. It perfectly captures the connection between the mind and body, a concept central to how we understand cognitive neuroscience today.
Right.
We can't separate the mind from the physical organ of the brain.
Yeah.
They both work together in intricate ways to shape our thoughts, feelings, and memories.
Absolutely.
And speaking of memories, this presentation delves into different types, short-term versus long-term, and declarative versus non-declarative.
Okay.
It even uses a fascinating example to illustrate these concepts,
Okay.
involving a doctor, a hidden pinprick, and an amnesic patient.
Yes, Clapeyron's pinprick experiment.
Right.
It's a classic demonstration of how different memory systems can operate independently.
This doctor hid a pin in his hand and shook hands with a patient who had amnesia,
Right.
meaning they couldn't form new memories. The patient, of course, didn't remember the pinprick later, but guess what? They refused to shake the doctor's hand again.
It's really interesting how that works.
That's incredible. So even though the patient couldn't consciously recall the painful experience, their brain still retained a negative association with the doctor.
Right.
It's like a subconscious red flag went up saying, "Danger! Avoid this handshake."
Precisely.
Wow.
It highlights the complexity of memory and how it's not just a single monolithic entity. It's a network of processes, some conscious and some unconscious,
Right.
that shape our experiences and behavior.
This makes me think about how much our brains are constantly processing without us even realizing it. Like how we might forget someone's name, but our body language still reveals that we recognize them. Or how a familiar scent can trigger a flood of memories from childhood.
Right. It's all very fascinating how that works.
It's a reminder that memory is much more than just recalling facts and events.
Right.
It influences our emotions, our perceptions, and even our physical reactions.
Yeah.
And when you consider diseases like Alzheimer's, where these memory systems are disrupted,
Right.
it really underscores the profound impact these processes have on our lives.
Well, absolutely.
And that brings us back to the potential flaws in the APHIS-D6 research.
Okay.
If our understanding of memory is so complex, how can we be sure we're on the right track when it comes to researching and treating Alzheimer's?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's precisely why this potential case of misconduct is so concerning.
Right.
If we're building our research on shaky foundations, it could have serious consequences for the development of effective treatments. We need to be extra vigilant in ensuring the integrity of Alzheimer's research, especially given the growing number of people affected by this devastating disease.
It's a sobering thought, but an important one.
Yeah.
So it seems like we've uncovered a real scientific mystery here. And the deeper we dive, the more questions arise.
It's how it always goes.
What are your thoughts so far? Does this case make you question other scientific findings you encounter?
It certainly makes you appreciate the importance of critical thinking
Yeah.
and questioning assumptions. We can't just blindly accept everything we read or hear, even if it comes from seemingly reputable sources.
Right.
We need to be informed consumers of scientific information,
Yes.
asking questions about the methodology,
Yeah.
the data, and the potential biases involved.
That's a great takeaway. And speaking of takeaways, the memory and cognition presentation touches on another fascinating aspect of memory, savant syndrome.
Okay.
You know, those individuals with incredible memory abilities, often coupled with other cognitive challenges.
Right.
It's a stark contrast to the devastating memory loss seen in Alzheimer's.
Yeah, it's almost like the opposite end of the spectrum.
Savant syndrome is truly remarkable. It suggests that the human brain has a much greater capacity for learning and memory than we typically realize.
Right.
These individuals often excel in specific areas like music, art, or calendar calculations, demonstrating incredible feats of memory that seem almost superhuman.
Yeah,
It's like a hidden superpower waiting to be unlocked.
I like that.
It makes you wonder, what if we could harness that potential in everyone?
Oh,
Could it hold clues to treating memory disorders like Alzheimer's?
that's a fascinating question.
Yeah.
And it's one that researchers are actively exploring.
Okay.
By studying the brains of savants and understanding the neural mechanisms behind their extraordinary abilities, we might gain insights into how to enhance memory function in others.
It's a reminder that even amidst the challenges of diseases like Alzheimer's,
Right.
there's still so much we don't know about the brain and its incredible potential.
Absolutely.
And that continued research is essential for uncovering those mysteries and finding ways to alleviate suffering.
And that research needs to be conducted with the utmost rigor and integrity,
Right.
as we've seen with the case of the after-6 research.
Yes.
We need to be vigilant in ensuring that our pursuit of knowledge is guided by ethical principles and a commitment to the truth.
Well said. This deep dive has been a roller coaster so far, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has.
From the potential misconduct to the awe-inspiring capabilities of the human brain, there's so much to unpack and ponder.
It's a reminder that science is a journey full of twists and turns and even occasional detours.
Right.
But the ultimate goal remains the same: to understand the world around us and use that knowledge to improve the lives of others.
And speaking of understanding, let's move into the part of the presentation that focuses on the impact of aging on memory.
Okay.
It's a topic that's relevant to all of us, right?
Yeah.
We all experience those senior moments from time to time.
Yep.
But how do we distinguish between normal age-related decline and something more serious, like dementia? That's what we'll explore next.
Sounds good. It's a question many people have as they get older. Forgetting where you put your keys is one thing, but when does forgetfulness become something more concerning?
Exactly. The presentation really dives into this, explaining how normal aging affects memory. It points out that as we age, our brains naturally undergo some changes, and this can lead to slower processing speeds, difficulty multitasking, and occasional memory lapses. But it emphasizes that these changes are generally mild and don't significantly interfere with daily life.
Right. They use a great analogy. Think of it like a computer slowing down a bit as it gets older.
Okay,
It might take a little longer to open files or run programs, but it's still functional.
that's a helpful way to think about it. So what are the signs that memory problems might be something more serious, like dementia?
Well, the presentation highlights a few key differences. With normal aging, you might forget an appointment, but remember it later.
Okay.
With dementia, the memory loss is more persistent and progressive. You might forget entire conversations or events, and those memories don't come back. It starts to interfere with your ability to manage daily tasks, like cooking, driving, or handling finances.
That sounds really scary. And when we talk about dementia, Alzheimer's disease is often what comes to mind.
Yeah.
The presentation goes into detail about this specific type of dementia, describing it as a progressive and destructive disease that affects multiple brain regions.
It's not just about forgetting things. Alzheimer's actually leads to the death of brain cells.
Wow.
And this damage spreads throughout the brain over time.
So it's progressive.
This widespread damage causes a wide range of cognitive and behavioral impairments, affecting not only memory but also language, problem-solving, personality, and even physical abilities.
The presentation actually dives into the specifics of what's happening in the brain.
Okay.
Talks about amyloid plaques, which are these sticky clumps of protein that build up between nerve cells, disrupting communication.
So they can't talk to each other.
And then there are these twisted fibers called neurofibrillary tangles that form inside neurons, interfering with their function.
It's like a tangled mess of wires, making it difficult for signals to travel effectively throughout the brain. Imagine trying to make a phone call with a phone cord that's all knotted up. The message just can't get through clearly.
That's a great analogy. It helps to visualize what's going on at a microscopic level in the brain.
Yeah.
And the presentation doesn't shy away from the harsh reality of Alzheimer's disease, how it affects daily life, eventually robbing individuals of their independence and ultimately leading to death.
It's heartbreaking to witness the progression of this disease. But amidst the grim reality, there is some hope.
Okay.
The presentation discusses the latest research on blood tests for early detection of Alzheimer's.
Oh, really?
Imagine if we could identify individuals at risk before they even show symptoms. That would be a game changer.
That would be incredible. Early detection could open the door to earlier interventions, potentially slowing down the progression of the disease or even preventing it altogether.
Exactly. And these blood tests are showing real promise. They're based on measuring the levels of specific proteins in the blood that are associated with those amyloid plaques and tau tangles we talked about. It's like having a window into what's happening in the brain
Right.
without needing invasive procedures.
So it's like a sneak peek at the brain's inner workings, potentially giving us a heads up if something's amiss.
Right.
What about treatments? The presentation mentioned something about vaccines for Alzheimer's.
Oh, okay.
It sounds almost too good to be true. Is that really a
Yeah.
possibility?
It's an exciting area of research.
Hmm.
While there's no vaccine currently available,
Okay.
there are several clinical trials underway testing different approaches.
Okay.
Some of these vaccines target amyloid, aiming to clear those plaques from the brain, while others target tau, those twisted protein fibers that form tangles.
Mm-hmm.
The idea is to trigger the immune system to recognize and attack these harmful proteins before they can cause damage.
It's like training the body's own defense system to fight against Alzheimer's. It's incredibly cutting-edge science. But even if a vaccine is developed, it's likely to be most effective in the early stages of the disease before too much damage has occurred.
Yeah,
This is why early detection through those blood tests is so crucial.
precisely.
Eh.
It's all about catching it early and intervening before the disease takes hold.
Mm-hmm.
But we need to be cautious.
Okay.
These vaccines are still in the experimental phase, and there's a lot more research to be done before we know for sure how effective they will be.
Right.
We don't want to create false hope or raise expectations prematurely.
That's a good point. It's important to be realistic about the challenges and the timeline for developing effective treatments, but it's also important to acknowledge the progress that's being made. The fact that we're even talking about vaccines for Alzheimer's is a testament to the incredible advancements in scientific research.
I completely agree. And it's not just about vaccines. Researchers are exploring many other avenues for treatment and prevention, including lifestyle modifications, medications, and even brain stimulation techniques. It's a multifaceted approach, tackling this complex disease from multiple angles.
This really highlights the point that Alzheimer's is a multifactorial disease, isn't it? It's not just about one thing.
Hmm.
It's a combination of genetic predispositions, environmental factors, and lifestyle choices.
Exactly. It's a complex interplay of factors that contribute to the development of this disease.
Right.
And that complexity makes it even more challenging to find a cure.
Yeah.
But researchers are making progress piece by piece, uncovering the intricate puzzle of Alzheimer's.
It's like putting together a giant jigsaw puzzle, with each new discovery adding another piece to the picture.
Right.
And hopefully, with continued research and a lot of hard work, we'll eventually be able to solve this puzzle and find a way to prevent or even reverse this devastating disease.
It's a goal worth striving for. And in the meantime, it's important to remember that there's a lot we can do to support those living with Alzheimer's and their caregivers.
Yeah, that's important.
Organizations like the Alzheimer's Association offer valuable resources, support groups, and advocacy efforts. They're a lifeline for those navigating the challenges of this disease.
That's such an important reminder. It's not just about finding a cure.
Right.
It's about improving the quality of life for those affected by this disease and providing support for their families.
Exactly. And that support can take many forms, from providing emotional support and companionship to helping with daily tasks and advocating for better policies and services.
Mm-hmm.
It's a collective effort, and every contribution counts.
And speaking of collective efforts, the presentation emphasizes that Alzheimer's is not the only type of dementia.
Right.
It specifically compares and contrasts Alzheimer's with Lewy body dementia,
Okay.
using a really poignant example to illustrate the unique challenges of this condition.
They use the experience of Robin Williams,
Right.
the beloved actor and comedian who was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia before his death.
Mm-hmm.
His case really highlights the complexities and often misunderstood nature of this particular type of dementia.
His wife described how he experienced a decline in his cognitive abilities, struggling to find words, and experiencing slowed movements and tremors.
Right.
It's a reminder that dementia is not a monolithic entity,
Yeah.
and each type presents its own unique challenges for patients and their families.
What's fascinating about Lewy body dementia is that it shares symptoms with both Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease.
Oh, wow.
It's like a challenging hybrid.
Yeah.
It involves the buildup of a different protein called alpha-synuclein, which affects brain regions involved in movement, thinking, and mood.
So while Alzheimer's primarily affects memory early on, Lewy body dementia often presents with a combination of cognitive decline, movement problems, and visual hallucinations. It can be very difficult to diagnose, especially in its early stages.
And that's why awareness is so important.
Yeah.
The more we understand about the different types of dementia, the better equipped we are to recognize the signs, seek early diagnosis, and provide appropriate care and support.
This deep dive has been a real eye-opener, hasn't it? From the complexities of memory to the devastating reality of dementia, there's so much to learn and understand.
It really is.
But even amidst the challenges, there's hope. Research is advancing, and we're gaining a deeper understanding of these diseases every day.
And that understanding is key to developing effective treatments and ultimately finding a cure.
Yeah.
It's a journey that requires patience, persistence, and a commitment to scientific rigor.
Well said. And speaking of scientific rigor, let's circle back to that potential case of misconduct in the F56 research.
Okay.
How has this controversy impacted the field of Alzheimer's research? Has it caused any ripple effects?
It's definitely shaken things up.
Yeah.
The F56 research was highly influential, and the potential flaws have raised concerns about the validity of some of the conclusions drawn from that work.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that science is an ongoing process, and even well-established findings can be challenged and revised as new evidence emerges.
So it's caused some people to go back and double-check things.
It's led to a renewed focus on the importance of replication and rigorous data analysis.
Yeah.
Scientists are taking a closer look at existing research, trying to confirm or refute the findings, and ensuring that the data is sound.
Right.
It's a healthy process, even if it's sometimes uncomfortable.
So it's like a scientific house cleaning,
Exactly.
making sure the foundation is solid before building any further. But this controversy hasn't invalidated the entire amyloid hypothesis, has it? There's still a lot of research pointing to the role of amyloid in Alzheimer's.
That's right. The amyloid hypothesis is much broader than just F56.
Right.
Scientists are still actively investigating the role of amyloid plaques in the development of Alzheimer's, exploring different ways to target them and prevent their formation.
Okay.
It's a complex puzzle. We're still putting the pieces together.
And it's a puzzle with incredibly high stakes.
Mm-hmm.
Millions of people worldwide are affected by Alzheimer's, and the numbers are only increasing as the population ages.
Right.
Finding effective treatments and a cure is a top priority.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And despite the setbacks and controversies, there's reason for optimism.
Okay.
Research is advancing on multiple fronts. We're learning more about the genetic and environmental factors that contribute to Alzheimer's, and we're developing new tools for early detection and diagnosis.
The memory and cognition presentation emphasized that there's a lot we can do even without a cure.
Right.
Lifestyle modifications like exercise, a healthy diet, and cognitive stimulation can play a role in reducing the risk of cognitive decline and potentially delaying the onset of dementia.
Those lifestyle factors are crucial. They're like building a strong foundation for brain health.
Mm-hmm.
And even for those already diagnosed with Alzheimer's, there are medications and therapies that can help manage symptoms and improve quality of life, even if they don't cure the disease.
This deep dive has been a fascinating journey through the intricate world of memory and the challenges of Alzheimer's research. We've encountered potential misconduct, explored the complexities of the brain, and witnessed the devastating impact of this disease.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey.
But we've also seen the unwavering dedication of scientists working tirelessly to find answers and develop effective treatments. What stands out to you as the most significant takeaways?
For me, it's the importance of scientific integrity,
Yeah.
the need for continuous scrutiny and questioning, and the reminder that science is a process, not a destination.
Right.
It's a journey of discovery,
Hmm.
and even setbacks and controversies can lead to new insights and a deeper understanding.
I completely agree. And it's also highlighted the profound impact of memory on our lives and the devastating consequences when those memory systems are disrupted. It's a reminder to cherish our memories, stay mentally active, and support research efforts aimed at finding a cure for Alzheimer's and other dementias.
And as we move forward, it's essential to keep asking questions, challenging assumptions, and demanding rigorous evidence. We need to be informed consumers of scientific information, advocating for ethical research practices, and supporting organizations that are working to advance our understanding of these complex diseases.
Well said. This deep dive has been incredibly thought-provoking and informative. It's left me with a lingering question.
Okay.
If a seemingly solid finding like F56 can be called into question, what other scientific mysteries might be lurking out there waiting to be uncovered? And how can we ensure that scientific progress is driven by a genuine pursuit of truth and a commitment to ethical conduct? It's something for all of us to ponder.
Indeed. It's a reminder that our understanding of the world is constantly evolving, and we need to approach new discoveries with a healthy dose of skepticism and a thirst for knowledge.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Alzheimer's research and memory. It's been a complex and challenging journey, but ultimately it's a journey fueled by hope. Hope for a future where these devastating diseases can be prevented, treated, and ultimately cured. Until next time, keep those brains buzzing.